Hi everybody, I'm Julie Kerr, writer and director of the romantic comedy Geek Loves Punk, and my sister, my super awesome sister, Jessica, she asked me that she wanted me to talk about who my 5 favorite movie directors are of all time. And what I want to say is, this is a tough question to ask any person who's a huge fan of film, because it depends on the day. And to be honest, I know, in my opinion, directing is tough. So I mean, I'm a fan of all the film directors. All the film directors are my favorite, because to me it's a tough thing to do. But for the sake of this video and my sister, today I will talk about who my 5 favorite directors are today. Tomorrow it could always change. But yeah, okay. So, alright, let's do this. Okay. I've categorized these directors a little bit. And it's kind of a tie between the 5 of them, but let's do this. Okay. My top 5 favorite directors today. Okay. So, I guess I'll count down to 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Number 5 for me is definitely going to be Mel Brooks. So, okay, see, I just said his name and I'm laughing. Mel Brooks is extremely talented. He's really funny. His movies tend to be pretty sharp, and they're just so funny. I overheard my neighbors last night. They were watching Spaceballs, a classic, great movie. So my favorite is Blazing Saddles. In my opinion, the point of Blazing Saddles is, hey, racism is bad. Cut it out. No more racism. And I completely agree with Mel Brooks. Racism, not good. We Americans, we have to stop it. Like, cut it out. Cut out the racism, because it's bad. Okay. So, but yeah, and then Blazing Saddles, and then Robin Hood Men in Tights, and Young Frankenstein, if you watch the movie. That's a joke in the movie with Gene Wilder. So his movies are funny. Oh, he'll break the fourth wall. Like, he'll have parts where, like, I'm sorry. I mean, this is how funny Mel Brooks is. I'm just laughing, just rethinking some of these, like, scenes. Okay, Mel Brooks will have parts where, like, he doesn't take filmmaking too seriously because he's a comedian. So he'll have parts where, like, a soldier is walking, and then their little spear, like, hits the camera. I'm sorry. It's so funny. And clearly, I mean, in a real movie, they would cut that out. There's another part where, like, a camera's, like, zooming in on the actor, and, like, the camera, like, hits the person's face. I mean, no one gets hurt, but it's just funny, and you would never see that in, like, a real movie. So it's kind of like, oh, bonk. Anyway, so he doesn't take it too seriously, because you can't, because he's a comedian. I'm a comedian as well, so you can have fun and just laugh and have a good time. But at the same time, like, a lot of his movies do have, like, good commentary. So all the way, Mel Brooks is hilarious and extremely talented and a great film director. So that's number 5. Number 4, I'm gonna go into, well, that Mel Brooks is diverse, but I'm gonna go into diversity. Number 4 right now today is, sorry guys, looking at my cheat sheet here. Oh, Greta Gerwig for sure. And honestly, Little Women, like, she's on my list because Little Women was so phenomenal. I watched it a couple weeks ago, and man, I learned things I didn't even know. They've done Little Women like 4 times, and the book is just so popular and compelling. I'm sorry to say, the only version of Little Women I've watched is the Greta Gerwig version, but she did a good job of keeping, like, she kept, like, for lack of a better word, the wholesomeness of Little Women, and I think wholesome is good. And I don't think wholesome is vapid or empty. I think wholesome can still be poetic and have lots of layers. You know what I mean? So she kept the wholesomeness of Little Women, and to me, wholesomeness is a positive word. She kept the wholesomeness of Little Women, but then I always considered her kind of edgy. But she brought her own edge to it. And then when I saw the story of why she wanted to direct Little Women, that basically it was her favorite book, and she knows tons of stuff about the author, Louisa May Alcott. One second. Hey, I got it right, Louisa May Alcott. And I read the book in high school, I think, but I definitely read the book because I think we all did in school. But Louisa May Alcott, she knew all this stuff about Louisa May Alcott, and hopefully I'm saying that right. But also just the way she told the story, it's told kind of non-linear, but it's still easy to follow. And the points she was making in the movie were just, I learned new information about Little Women that I'd never learned before. So she kept the, like I said, the wholesomeness, but added a little bit of, I call the Greta Gerwig edge, to where it's a very compelling movie, but it still keeps the heart and soul of Little Women. And it totally makes sense why, I mean, they're going to remake it again probably in 20 years, and they should just keep, it's just such a powerful story, they can just keep remaking it. But for Little Women alone, I was highly impressed with that movie. So on my list is Greta Gerwig. I totally recommend Little Women. It's really good. Okay. So, person number 3 on my list, totally keeping it real, is Tyler Perry. I'm a huge fan of Tyler Perry, and people, you know, some of my serious filmmaking friends, God bless them, I love them with all my heart, but, you know, they don't, I guess they don't get it. They only like Darren Aronofsky, and hopefully I'm saying his name right. Now, first of all, I just want to say Darren Aronofsky is a genius, for sure, and God bless him. And like tomorrow, he might be on my list, right? For sure. But today, I'm putting Tyler Perry on my list. But yeah, I have friends who only like Darren Aronofsky, and it's like sometimes you're just not always in the mood for a Darren Aronofsky movie. You know what I mean? You're just not in the mood because they're so intense. But hands down, he's a genius. Like, of course he's a genius. I saw Requiem for a Dream in college, and I was like, me and my friends were like, this is filmmaking. so he is an absolute genius. But anyway, but today, number 3 is Tyler Perry. Okay, so what I want to say is, if you know Tyler Perry's story, like, he grew up kind of rough. And I grew up kind of rough too. And I'm not comparing it at all. But it's just like, he understands people who kind of come from like a rural area, or just if you're just someone who didn't grow up with a lot of money. Like, there's just stuff like that. There's just a lot of humor that he has in his movies that I find relatable. And I like Medea. I think she's hilarious. She's so funny. And then and I want to give an example. There's this part in a movie where Medea has to get on an airplane, and this is post 9/11. So, and I think with comedy and with Medea, like, you exaggerate things. So for sure with comedy, or in movies in general, things get exaggerated. So I think with Tyler Perry, yeah, he exaggerates stuff a little bit, but that's what you do in comedy. So there's a scene where Medea has to get on an airplane, and she's being really funny. Like, she's like, what in the world? And because I don't think she's been on an airplane in a long time. So Medea's making these funny jokes, and she's like, what the what? So there's this part where, you know, they have to like pat her down, and she is like overreacting, or it's exaggerated that she has to do all this crazy stuff just to get on an airplane. And clearly, there's also a funny scene where Medea she's just seen a bidet for the first time, and she's like, what in the world? She's in like a nice restaurant, and she's in a nice hotel, and there's a bidet, and she's like, what the? Okay, so, but now that I live in the Bay Area, I have European friends who have bidets, and holy crap, they're amazing. They're great. Anyway, but so the part where Medea's like exaggerating over experiencing a bidet for the first time, or she's exaggerating like getting on an airplane. But what I wanted to say was, like, since I grew up in like a rural area, small town Virginia, the first time I got on a airplane, I was like 24. I'd moved out to California and I was going home to Virginia for the holidays, and I hadn't been in an airplane in a really long time. So, like, actually no, when I was 24, yeah, I was going on an airplane, and I hadn't been in an airplane since I was like a little kid, right? So I didn't act exactly like Medea, but I felt like exactly what Medea was acting like in the movie. I was like, that's what it feels like. Like, I related to Medea because it was like, oh, that's what it's like. That's what it feels like when you're like, for me, like, you could say I'm like a country bumpkin. A country bumpkin who's for racial equality. So, but I'm like a country bumpkin, so like doing these like city things it's still new to me. So like, anyway, so the scene where she's like, you know, reacting to getting on an airplane, the way she was acting was exactly how I felt on the inside, getting on an airplane for the first time in a long time. And the first time I saw Bidet, I was like, what the what? No, Medea, because she's Medea, she exaggerates it. I didn't do it, you know, and it's a comedy, but for me, I was like, yeah, that's what it felt like. It's like, oh, what is this? It goes where? Anyway, but bidets are awesome. So, but I would say for today, definitely Tyler Perry, because he's funny, and I don't know, and he used to be homeless, and he owns his own studio in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's it's just cool. His story is really cool, but I think he's a funny guy. Like, I think his stuff is funny, and he's very consistent. And I saw Acrimony, and Acrimony, I thought it was good, starring Taraji P. Henson. It's a thinker, like, if you watch that. That's a whole nother video, but it's a thinker. It's quite a conundrum. Like, it makes you think. Okay, it's like, it makes you think, what would I do in that situation? Okay, so, alright, so person number 2 on, director number 2, now I'm going old school. Old school, these are the movies that really made me want to be a filmmaker. So, person number 2, hands down for sure, is Billy Wilder, for sure. Okay, one second. Okay, so, so Billy Wilder, one of my favorite all-time movies for sure is The Apartment. And what I like about The Apartment is, some people have said, like, the depiction of women is, like, negative in The Apartment. But to be honest, I think the depiction of the humankind is negative in The Apartment. Except for Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. So, in The Apartment, the men are jerks. In The Apartment, the movie, the women are jerks, in my opinion. So you have this very cynical world, and then in the middle of this cynical world, in the movie The Apartment, you have these two beacons of hope. You have Shirley MacLaine, who still believes in love and romance, and you have Jack Lemmon, who's just this decent guy. So, I actually think the movie, in my opinion, because the leads are Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine, I think the movie's actually, in my opinion, pretty optimistic. Like, it's pointing out the cynicism of the world, but then showing, like, hey, but let's focus on the good people in the world, like Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. And also, let's just focus on how hard it can be sometimes to be the good in the world, considering how cynical the world can be. And you see how tough it can be for Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine to be like the good people in the movie. Like, there's a lot in the world influencing them to not be good, but they still stay good. So the Apartment's a pretty compelling movie. That's Billy Wilder. And listen, y'all, I'm rusty and it's kind of late. So he also did Some Like It Hot, hilarious movie. Sunset Boulevard, that's a classic, really good movie. Double Indemnity, that's a movie with Barbara Stanwyck. I love her. So those, and the 7-Year Itch. Stalag 17. Oh yeah, Stalag 17 is a great war movie. 7-Year Itch, starring Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, great movie. Because it's Marilyn Monroe. Really great weekend. Really great movie. But yeah, so, and Billy Wilder, like, mixed it up with genres, but, yeah, if you just watch all those movies, I could make videos on each of his movies, but, The Apartment's one of my all-time favorites, for sure. Okay, and finally, number one today, I'm gonna go old school again. Okay, so, number one that I want to pick is a director called Howard Hawks. So Howard Hawks is an old school director. He was prominent in the 1930s, 1940s. He made movies, I believe, until the 1950s, 60s. The reason why I like Howard Hawks is he did a movie called Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. The title is very misleading. It's starring Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell. Jane Russell is a gorgeous, awesome, amazing brunette. If you watch the movie, she's very compelling. In the movie, so there's excellent representation for brunettes, but okay. So the reason I really like Howard Hawks is he was just a good, solid director, like, and he would switch genres. He did everything. He did science fiction, he did romantic comedies, he did war movies, he did horror films, he did, let me check. Oh, he did, like, film noir, and then he would turn around and do he did Western movies, and like he did all of these movies pretty solidly. Like he would do these movies really well. And he had something called the Howard Hawksian Woman. So one of my favorite movie of his starring Barbara Stanwyck, because I love Barbara Stanwyck. It's called Ball of Fire. So, it's Barbara Stanwyck, and it's a good example of the Hawksian woman. So, a lot of Howard Hawks movies, he'd have like a group of dudes being men, and it was awesome. And then he would have a woman, this is a woman if it was puppets, but anyway, then he'd have a woman walk into the scene, and she would just shake things up. And I love it. And then all the men were like, "Whoa!" Women shaking it up. It was just really cool. Like, but anyway, the woman would be kind of feisty, and she was smart, and she was clever, and she would keep up with the guys, and she would kind of like challenge the guys a little bit, and she was intellectual. Like she was just as smart as the men. And when they asked Howard Hawks, like, what's with this Howard Hawksian woman, which I love, he said he wasn't necessarily, like, he didn't necessarily identify as a feminist, but to him, like, this kind of woman was more interesting to him. And I was like, yeah. so in all of his movies, he'd have this kind of, like, feisty, confident, smart woman, and she would just hold her own. And I liked it. And so Ball of Fire is about a bunch of, stuffy professor types, lovable, but, and then here comes Barbara Stanwyck. She's like this singer, and she's wearing these gorgeous outfits, like glittery, and she's just shaking things up, and the professors are going bananas over her. So, and she's funny, and she's clever, and yeah, it's just, she also, in the movie, she has to punch this old lady, which is not nice, but she plays like this gangster, I don't know, she's playing like this lounge singer with a heart of gold type of thing. But it's a great movie, Ball of Fire. I totally recommend it. Starring Gary Cooper, Barbara Stanwyck, directed by Howard Hawks, written by Billy Wilder. Great movie. So yeah, but yeah, Howard Hawks had the Hawksian Woman. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is basically a buddy comedy. It's in my opinion, one of the best buddy comedies ever directed. It's just hilarious, and it's funny, and it's two women. It's just great. The way they play off each other is hilarious. So, but yeah. So today, definitely Howard Hawks, because his stuff was really funny. No, his stuff was just really good, and he was very consistent. Like with whatever genre he decided to go with, he would consistently make good movies. And for me, I know for me, like, I want to, as a film director, I want to switch genres as well. I want to be able to do romantic comedies and horror films and suspense and westerns and all that jazz. I want to mix it up a little bit as well. So that's why I consider Howard Hawks a role model as far as filmmaking goes. So yeah, all right. So those are my 5 favorite film directors today. Mel Brooks, Greta Gerwig, Tyler Perry, Billy Wilder, Howard Hawks. All right. Those are my 5 favorite film directors. Feel free. It's hard to narrow it down to 5 because I love them all. So yeah, feel free to tell me what are your favorite film directors and why. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I answered the question. Jessica, my little sister, I love you, and I hope y'all are being good to yourselves. Hope you're being safe out there with the COVID-19. And yeah, please tell me what your favorite director is and tell me why. All right, and the favorite movie that director made. Okay, talk to you guys later. Love y'all. Stay awesome. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube video. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to, I would love it if you would like, subscribe, ring the bell, or leave any comments or questions down below. I'm totally down to answer any of your questions or see what your thoughts are on the video. Also, my official call to action is that you guys and gals and folks be really good to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. Times are tough right now. I'm keeping everybody involved with coronavirus, people on the front lines, in my prayers. And then us, just kind of everybody being stuck at home, keeping all of us in my prayers for sure. Okay, and my other call to action is that you join my email list. If you want to mosey on over to my website, this is like the link. Yeah, so I created a PDF and a PDF and a video. So I actually grew up in a abusive home, and now as an adult I'm doing quite well, considering considering a global pandemic. And yeah, so what I did is I came up with 5 daily strategies that I do every day that help me feel like good every day. And so yeah, I used to deal with a lot of sadness and depression in my 20s, and now I'm in my 30s. I started studying personal development, and in a way I've been studying personal development my entire life. So what I did is I created a PDF and a worksheet where I give 5 daily strategies that teach you that tell you the 5 strategies I do every day that just help me feel good. And also my college buddy, he joined my email list, and he saw the sequence of videos that you get to see through my email list and the worksheets, and he said they were amazing. He emailed me and he told me he loved them, and he thought they were super awesome. So he said, "These are so Julie." That's what he said, my college buddy. So that's pretty cool, pretty exciting. So hey, so I totally encourage you to watch my to join my email list. That's my official call to action. All right, thank you so much. I hope y'all have a great day. And I'm Julie Kerr, writer and director of the romantic comedy Geek Loves Punk. Okay, bye y'all. Love y'all.